Hey everybody, this is Jeff Veale, the business guru, coming to you from a very hot downtown Manila. I've got a wonderful guest today, an incredible guest actually. We're just about a bit of a chit chat, and this woman's done it all, and you're going to see how and why in a moment. But let me start at the beginning. I've got my iPad here. My printer's not working today, so it doesn't matter. I've got a Dr. Jan Yager, and Dr. Jan is a Adjunct Associate Professor, Sociologist, Entrepreneur, Time Management Coach, Guru, another guru, look at that guys, 2 gurus in one day, and an expert. And business company name, Dr. Jan Yager, easy name, I can't get my tongue around it. I also have Indie Press, a word I can't pronounce, but she'll come back to. But that word, please, Dr. Jan, is Hannacroix
Creek Books.
Well, lovely, thank you. And the industry she's in multiple, she's got one thing here, but this woman's in multiple industries. She's got a finger in a lot of pies because she's got the experience to do that, guys, right? When you become a professional, you can do it all. Book publishing is her main industry. She's been doing this since, are you ready? You remember colour TV, before colour TV came out, probably, 1971, right? She went down, like me, a little girl. We used to watch TV in the department store windows. Remember that? Or we went to our neighbour's house. We were around, guys, when there were phone boxes, all that type of thing. Anyway, brief description of her business. In addition to teaching college courses, which is awesome, I'm an author and book publisher. I also research, coach, speak about, and write about several areas of expertise, including time management. That's a big one. My latest book, the 8th on time management, is Time Masters, 11 Secrets to Greater Productivity and Life Fulfillment. Guys, think about this, guys, for a minute. McDonald's run a billions of dollars enterprise with 15-year-old kids that mothers can't get to clean their bedroom. Reason? McDonald's have got a system. The mother doesn't have a system.
Sure.
It's all about systems, guys, right?
Exactly.
Key achievements or projects. This summer, I've been conducting interviews for my first short documentary entitled The Forgotten, The Ones Left Behind. It's interesting. And those whose loved ones have been killed. I'm sharing about this documentary because it fits in with my new book, Time Masters. As you know, the subtitle includes life fulfillment, in addition to the greater productivity. The very first secret of my 11 secrets of greater productivity is target. So I targeted making my first documentary as a summer project, in addition to teaching 2 intensive courses in, the word is, I've never heard this word before, victimology. So I'm sure it's a word, but and the doctor will explain that to us shortly. Life is a gift and a blessing. It certainly is. Make the most of it. I love this one. Every day, every hour, and make sure you spend some of your time with people and not just work. I have a philosophy, guys. All my life I had this philosophy. I used to say to people, you don't meet anyone staying home. And I used to go out most nights, go out, and I'd see shit happen. And people go, oh, I never saw that. And say, no, because you weren't out. Half people, they didn't believe my stories because there's that many of them, because I was out and about and things were happening. Right. Interesting fact about herself. Wrote her first novel at the age of 10. So she had a bit of practice since then. She was I love that. Not allowed anymore. She was a latchkey kid, guys. Really, any of you guys are old enough to know that. Means both your parents were working and you were left at home to look after yourself and raid the fridge. 2 days, I was completely alone in the house in Queens, New York, after school, and before my mother arrived home from a teaching job around 6 p.m, I turned to writing for comfort. I'm now the author of 67. Man, look at that, guys. That's a real guru. 67 award-winning books in a range of genres, non-fiction, fiction, poetry, dramatic literature, and I could go on. So I think what we're going to do is move on and introduce our guest today. Welcome, Jan. How are you today?
Great, and it's wonderful to be with you. Jeff, you're amazing.
I appreciate that. Tell me, let's get the show underway. Tell us about your journey and what inspired your current career path all those years ago. What happened?
I think that, growing up, I had 2 workaholic parents. My father was a dentist.
Wow.
And he wanted to be available when people weren't working, so he worked till 9 o'clock every night.
Wow.
On his one day off, he had 2 days off, but his second day off, he volunteered at the Veterans Hospital. The only time we really saw him was on Sunday. My mother was a workaholic kindergarten teacher.
Oh, God.
And I was determined when I became a parent a little later in life, in my mid-30s, I was going to make sure that my children felt they were number one.
Absolutely.
One of the most flattering...
Why have them?
Well, one of the most flattering things that happened was when my younger son was 13, he was asked what his mother did. Now, by 13, I was already teaching again and writing and consulting. But he said, my mother is a mom. Now, if you had asked me at 13, what did my mother do? I would have said, my mother's a kindergarten teacher.
Absolutely. I'm going to interrupt you. Let me tell you a quick story. I put my two girls into the best school in Australia. I had the money, and I was a workaholic. I had the money, and when one of my kids, the older one, she was about 14, I think 14 or 15. You probably call it an essay in America, but in Australia they call it composition. Same thing, essay composition. And they said, go home and write about a superhero. Anyway, she goes home, does her homework diligently and takes it back to school next day, and she gets an F. She fails, right? And then she wonders why she failed. And the teacher said, Jessica, the reason you failed, you wrote about your dad. We told you to write about a true story.
No, that's terrible. You were her superhero.
They said to her, you're supposed to write about a superhero like Superman, and she jacked up. So consequently, I pulled them out of that school and put them to the second best school, which wasn't any better, by the way.
Sure. Yeah. No, that's good. Yeah. So I love work, but I also love people. Yeah. In Time Masters, my 11 secrets, the first one is target, and I have my little to-do list where I've targeted what I have to do in the next week. But the second secret is individuals and pets. And the tagline is spend time with people, especially positive, supportive ones, and or with a pet. So to me, it's important to have that blend. But I know people who go one extreme where they don't get the career or even the work they love because all they do is socialize. Yeah. So it's the balance. That's I
say everything. My motto is everything in moderation. I don't care what you do it in moderation. Everything.
Right.
Do it in moderation.
And one of the reasons I like teaching is it's predictable. In a good way. I took a couple of years off from teaching to try to just make a living in addition to my husband's income, going around the world speaking. And I would get high-powered, good fees, but it was too unpredictable. Right. And I was spending as much time getting the gigs as I was doing it. Yes. So I went back to teaching, and that was 11 years ago, and I haven't regretted it because they need me, and I take the teaching very seriously. Fair enough. And fortunately, over my lifetime, I had professors and teachers before college or graduates or after in graduate school who made a difference in my life. Let me give you an example. Dr. Kaplowitz. In order to get my PhD, I had to take and pass statistics. Now, I'm a qualitative person, which means I love doing interviews. Quantitative is a little bit scary for me, but it was something I had to master. I said to Dr. Kaplowitz, I don't know how I'm going to learn how to do the numbers. And he said, we're going to get you a tutor and you're going to do well. And I said,
Awesome.
oh, really? And guess who the tutor was going to be?
Himself.
Dr. Kaplowitz.
Yeah.
So he sadly passed on, years later, but I actually got to teach a graduate course at William Patterson in statistics.
Love it.
And it always made me smile that I went from student to master, and it was because of his belief in me.
Wonderful.
So, I have a student who just recently, she went from being a student to working in the district attorney's office, and she sent me an email over the summer. I have my graduation from the police academy on June 3rd. And, those are the things that teaching does that makes you so proud. And it's the same thing with books.
Yes, right.
I get emails from around the world because I'm in 36 languages.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Here's an example. A woman in China wrote to me. She had read one of my time management books in Chinese. And she wrote to me and she said, in English, she said, Dr. Yager, I wasn't going to apply to graduate school because I had a hard time with the university and I didn't think I could handle graduate school. But what I learned about time management in your book makes me confident that I can handle the additional work. And that's the kind of thing, my book, How to Finish Everything You Start, sold tens of thousands. We're up to over 30,000 in 10 foreign languages. But to me, if a book sells one copy and that one copy changes someone's life, it's still worth it.
Absolutely.
But that's not what the major houses feel. They want people who sell 100,000 and up.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
It's funny with your bio. Let me have a quick look again. There was something there you said that intrigued me a bit because I don't know America that well, but I'm getting to know it because I speak to a lot of American clients. But there was one thing you said there. Bear with me. I'm going to run down here very quickly. I guess I'll like it because you mentioned something here. Where is it, damn thing? Here we go. Getting there. The forgotten ones, right? When you mentioned that, the first thing that came to my mind, because I see a lot of this being an outsider, I thought you're going to be talking about the veterans, right? Because they indeed are the forgotten ones, correct?
Oh, sure. Yeah. No, that might be another documentary.
Yeah.
One of the people I interviewed is actually a veteran. His mother, younger brother, cousin, and family friend were murdered by a serial killer.
Oh, God.
And he only started dealing with it about 3 years ago through a support group. But it happened 44 years ago. And one of the points of the documentary is because my brother was killed he died because of a robbery homicide when I was 20 and he was 23. Oh. And one of the points of the documentary is do not tell people in our situation that you should get over it.
Yeah, right.
It's something you deal with. It's something you live with. Sure. But it's not like any other kind of death. It's not like cancer. Yeah, it's not like an accident. It's knowing that someone deliberately took the life of, in most cases, an innocent person.
If we are normal, when you're sort of, as we hope we are, normal, you can't comprehend it. You say, how could someone do that? I mean, how can you kick a dog or all these things? You know what I mean? How can you smack a child? All these things. You sort of think, how can you do that stuff, right?
Right. Yeah. No, and one of the reasons I decided to do the documentary is that even though my brother's death happened many years ago, I only joined a support group for those who have experienced this a couple of months ago. And I just found it so helpful. And I was surprised. I was very low key. I got permission from the facilitator. I said, is it okay if I mention the documentary? Because I had even interviewed her, and she said yes. And I was surprised that 5 of the people in our group asked me if they could be interviewed.
Fantastic.
So now I'm at the challenging point of putting all the interviews together.
No, but you're a remarkable woman, because you're a wonderful achiever, but more importantly, you're a great listener.
Thank you.
The empathy and the love is there to people, and then that's going to resonate with you, obviously. Tell me, was the support group quite a good help for you, was it, after all this time?
It's fabulous, because we're part of a group and a club that no one ever wants to join.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we all, without needing to use words, we understand what we're going through, and it's just so powerful and so rewarding. And I even interviewed for the documentary the woman who, Candace Lightner, who started MAD. And she was very active for 5 years. Then she went on to become independent, and then she started a new group called We Save Lives, which is devoted to not just deaths from drunk driving, but also distracted driving and drug-related driving, and even drowsy driving. But I interviewed her for it, and she's a remarkable woman. I mean, they estimate that MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, has, through their efforts and their change in the laws, saved a couple of 100,000 lives.
Awesome.
Because before when her own daughter was killed by a drunk driver, the driver got a slap on the wrist.
Oh God, yeah.
And laws changed.
Sadly, it doesn't all make the news, guys. You watch the news every night, you're not going to see every accident on there. Sadly, it's happening.
Exactly.
It's happening more often than you think. I'll give you a quick one.
Yeah.
I had a wake up call. I'm not terribly overweight. I'm a little bit overweight, and I'm 77, so you got to watch all these things and have your blood test every year. I'm in a taxi, a Grab, same thing, taxi in Malaysia, and I got talking to a gentleman. I always have a chat to them. I goes, "What do you do?" And he goes, "Oh, this is my part-time job, but I actually work in a hospital." I said, "What do you do there?" He said, "Oh, I work in the artificial leg section." Really? What's that about?
No.
Yeah,
wow.
and this is what he told me, and it scared me. It's one hospital, mind you. He said 20 people, they have 20 people booked in a day for amputations. 20 a day.
Wow.
Doesn't that make you think, right?
Sure.
And I went, wow. I couldn't, and he was serious,
So I want to switch to something this is my memoir, which actually just won the President's Award.
Awesome.
From the Florida Authors and Publishers Association.
Going forward.
And it's reflections on a writer's life. And one of the reasons I wrote this, and I'm talking about this in our interview, because I want to encourage people listening to our podcast to write their memoir. I was going to try to publish a memoir by 70, but writing a memoir is a big undertaking, and I started it, I put it aside, and then two of my close friends died from health-related illnesses. One, she was around 68 from a rare blood cancer, and my other close friend from Parkinson's and some other health. She was about 72. And that really shook me up because they were very close. I have about 4 or 5 friends in my close circle. So that was like almost a third of my close circle. But on top of that, they didn't leave behind. I mean, 𝐰𝐢𝐬𝐬, fortunately, was a writer, so she did leave behind some plays she wrote. But they didn't leave behind a memoir. They didn't leave behind an in-depth look at their lives. Yes. And when you have a friend or a relative, you think it's going to go on forever, and you don't think to interview them. So I said, for my 75th, I'm going to write this memoir. And I actually put it in the competition without any expectations. And I was just so flattered and pleased that, it was acknowledged for its excellence.
Fantastic.
What I did is, knowing that my life, although we all think our lives are interesting, but what I did is I wove around my life lessons for any writer. How I got my first job in publishing, how I sold my first book to Scribner, my author tour to Australia and New Zealand, how that came about. So it isn't just my own story. It's what can you do to make your writing career come true.
Funny enough, I'm a frustrated writer in that sense. I want to write a book, but you know what holds me back? It's a block. It holds me back. I say,
what?
Jeff, no, this is what it is. I say, Jeff, your book would end up in the science fiction section because no one would believe it. I'll tell you 3 quick ones. I saw a real ghost when I was 6, a real ghost. At 14, I left home and I came home after a few months. I was out on my own. I came home one night and my home was missing. Right?
Wow.
And I used to have $100,000 football bets. And these are things that people just don't believe. Right? So I haven't bothered because I've done it. I know the story. And I tell you, I just haven't got to share.
Yeah, but other people might enjoy reading your stories.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. Some would. Yeah. No doubt.
Yeah. And hey, it's okay if they put it in the science fiction section. That's their problem.
Yeah. I did it my way with the title, something like that,
Right. Yes, I like that.
Yeah. Or from skip bin to millionaire and back, because I lost 20 million when COVID came along. I got wiped out. Right. That's another story. I could bore you with all these stories. Wow. You and I have lived life. We've had a great life. We've lived life. Right. And the funny thing about
and we got a lot more living to go.
We're at base camp, my friend. Don't forget, we're at base camp. Right. It's still a long climb ahead. Right.
Yeah, well, one of the reasons I'm still working and loving it is that both my parents retired at 65.
Oh no!
My dad lived to 80, and my mother lived to 90, and I observed those years.
Yes.
And my mother was content until her health failed to go to luncheons, although I found it very boring. Yeah. But my father was extremely bored, and he was very depressed.
He had no challenge, nothing left.
And I was very frustrated because about 3 years after he died from a brain tumor, my mother shows up at my house with a box of stuff that my father wrote. And one of them was a diary about countdown to retirement. And his goal was to write a book.
Right.
And he never told me that. I could have helped him.
Yes. Interesting, eh? Yeah.
So that's why in my book, I tell people, you got to be careful who you tell your goals to, because sometimes they can put you down. Yeah. But if you don't commit to it, it can also just dissipate. So there's a fine line between the two.
I'm also two things like yourself. I'm a frustrated writer, and I'm a frustrated speaker. I'd like to be on the stage and tell my stories, right? And you'll laugh. The other day, a thing came into my head, 'cause being 77, I'm not going to retire, but I'm going to travel a lot more. What I thought about doing, I thought about packing up my main business at the end of this year and going and visiting the over 300 guests that I've interviewed. Go and visit them for real and have a cup of coffee with them. Wouldn't that be cool?
Sure. Well, there's a man in Australia who I've been encouraging to have me act as his agent and sell the book for him.
Yes.
But he just did his 500th lunch with a stranger.
Wow, pretty cool.
And I interviewed him for Time Masters for chapter 2. And, he was so inspirational. In fact, he helped get me back out in the real world again, because too many of us, because of COVID, got into Zoom.
That put me in a bad space.
I would have loved, if you had sent me a ticket, I would have gone to Manila to do our interview. But It's easier to do it by Zoom.
Let me tell you, my friend, I have 2 luxury condos over here looking over Manila Bay. So the challenge to you is to come and have a 7-day free holiday whenever you're ready.
That sounds great. But what I was going to say is that Nick, he just did his 500th interview over lunch, and he purposely only kept it to Sydney because he's a shy person. And 5 years ago, he decided he was going to start his own business as a marketing person. And he knew that developing a local network was very important. So he created this idea of having lunch with strangers to force himself to connect with people. And in addition to the lunch once a month with someone else, he does an open networking event where all of the 500 people are invited. And, not all of them show up, a few show up, at a local pub to keep it going. But it's just such a wonderful concept. So I applaud your idea of going around the world, meeting all the people in person that you've interviewed.
I even know where I'm going to start. I'm going to start in San Diego. I've already got it in my head. I'm starting in San Diego.
That's great.
Yeah, what I was going to ask you, I want to know more because I'm going to steal this idea, borrow it, steal it. I'm going to steal it, call it what it is. I'm going to steal it. I'm going to do something very similar now, very similar to my podcast. What did he actually do? Did he just have a tape recorder and record the conversation, or did he? How did he do it?
No, he doesn't record it. He just has a lunch, and most of the time
And writes about it.
They split the bill. He doesn't have to pick up the tab.
Sure. Yeah.
And he just he mostly contacts people through LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And he asks them if they'd like to have lunch and tells them what he's doing. And he reports about the latest lunch on LinkedIn.
Yeah, like a blog. Like a blog?
Yeah. Not a blog, just a post.
Yeah.
Like this was number 475.
Yeah, I met Jeff Veale, the business guru, and we Jeff had fish and I had meat pie, whatever, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
And I wanted to try to sell the book for him now, but he wants to write the whole thing first, so he's close to finishing the manuscript.
I love it. I got to tell you something. You'll love this. You will love this. I had a woman the other day on my podcast, beautiful woman, and halfway through the show, she said this. You ready? Be a better human. And I thought,
I love that.
Exactly. And I thought to myself, shit, how cool is that? If everybody would practice that, what a great world it would be.
That's right. Yeah.
Beautiful words.
Or even just be a human.
Yeah.
I had on LinkedIn this morning, my post was about an association I belong to, and I didn't want to name it because it's embarrassing what happened.
Sure.
So the first time I got an email from someone in the association saying, we're in the same association. I'm impressed by what you've accomplished. I'm trying to develop a network of people who are successful like you. Let's exchange contact information and get to know each other better. So the first time it happened, I was flattered. The second time it happened, about a week later, with the exact wording, I knew that the two of them had used AI. Then this morning, it happened a third time with a different person, the same exact wording. So my post today on LinkedIn was, do not use AI as a substitute for original connections because it will backfire big time.
On the bum, yeah. All right.
And I ended my post by saying, this is by 𝐷𝐢𝐿𝐿.
Lovely. We are completely off. This is out of 300. We are completely off the track. We haven't even, but I'll speed it up a bit. We'll go back to some of the questions. We're on question 1 and there's 8 questions. So I'm going to leave some of the questions out because it's a great. I loved it. In your opinion, what are the key qualities and skills that have contributed to your amazing success?
Well, ironically, my workaholic mother gave me, and my workaholic father, the good part of that was they gave me a lot of discipline about putting in the effort, putting in the time. I mean, you know, working hard. I think being open to feedback, as hard as it is,
absolutely,
not taking it personally, and also being able to experiment, you know, do different things. You know, I met my husband through an ad that I placed in New York Magazine.
Is that right?
And we got married 23 days later. And everyone came to our wedding thinking, how long before they get a divorce? And the joke is on all of them because we've been happily married for 40 years now.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's a
but
great
when
story.
I put that ad, evereveryone thought I was crazy.
Listen, I got one for you.
So that's important.
Look
what you think is right.
Look up 𝐷𝐢𝐿𝐴. He's dead now, copywriter. He wrote a full-page ad for a partner. You got to look it up later. 𝐷𝐢𝐿𝐴, and it's bloody awesome. The full page, and I think he put it in the New York Times. But he's, you know, I'm going back to the 70s, but he put what Gary wants, what Gary doesn't. He doesn't want any tattooed woman. He doesn't want this. He doesn't want that.
That's so funny.
You'll love it. When you see it, you'll love it. Make sure you send me an email after you had a look at it. Tell us about. You've done so much. Tell us about a recent project or achievement that you're particularly proud of.
Well, I think in addition to Time Masters and looking backward going forward, I wrote a book called Celebrating Friends and Friendship.
That's nice.
And that was a very exciting project. It actually has color pictures in it. And one of my favorite I always use these newsletters that allow you to post that you're doing research. So one of the respondents, it literally brought tears to my eyes because he is based in India and his two friends are in different parts of the world now. But when he was in high school and college, those friends, because he has a leg problem, so he needs a crutch. And he basically wrote to me that if not for my friends, my world would be confined to these four walls.
Wow.
And it was just so powerful. You know, we think of friends talking to us and going to the movies, but the idea that they, and in the book, Celebrating Friends and Friendship, there's a picture of them in this beautiful, you know, mountainous area that he never could have handled on his own with his two friends. So, you know, it's a real celebration of friendship. And it was an outgrowth of my friends passing away.
Tell me, what advice would you give a 20-year-old version of you?
To not be so hard on myself, to really accept the fact that, you know, you're not going to know at 20 what you'll have learned by the time you're 76.
You don't know that when you're 30.
And to rejoice in the fact that at 20, I got married to my first husband. It didn't work out. 3 years later, we got divorced. But I never begrudged those 3 years or getting married because I learned so much. And we didn't have children. And when I met my second husband 13 years later, all those life lessons that 20-year-old had absorbed came in handy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I'd tell people travel, and I'd say reach out to people like you and get a mentor. Because, guys, a mentor can save 10, I kid you not, 5 or 10 years off the journey. Get a mentor, right?
Sure. I'm very fortunate. I have a mentor, Dr. Richard Quinney. When my first book on crime victims came out when I was 27, I went on a cross-country tour, starting with the Today Show. And every single interview they asked me if I had a law degree or a PhD. At that point, I only had a master's. So I said to Dr. Quinney, my unofficial mentor, I said, what should I do? He said, well, are you going to spend the rest of your life explaining why you don't have one or the other? Or you're so young, why not go for one or the other? So I applied, got into law school, got into a doctoral program, decided on the doctorate rather than the law degree.
The good thing, though, you've used it. The difference between you and many women I see, they go degree. They spend a lifetime of studying and not using it or applying it.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because when I got into law school, which was quite shocking to me because I didn't take one government course in college, but I got into law school and I got into 2 doctoral programs. And I said to Dr. Quinney, I don't know which to choose. So he says, well, what do you want to do? I said, well, I want to have a law degree, but I want to do what a sociologist does. Uh-huh. So he says, well, I think you have your answer.
Yeah. What does a sociologist do? Just tell me. I don't know. Just tell me.
Well, I have been one of my areas of expertise is friendship. So Disney hired me as their friendship judge for a friendship contest.
All right.
Visa, the credit card company, hired me to do a commercial for them for Christmas a few years ago. Kimberly Clark hired me as a friendship spokesperson to talk about friendship and how it affects teenage girls.
Yes.
So, but in addition to that, you can teach, and I, of course, have done, all this research.
You're an amazing woman. Before I finish, I'm going to finish very shortly, let me tell you, I've interviewed over 300 people, right? 300. And this lady is in her 70s, right? And before today, my number one person out of all the 300, my most interesting person, and I didn't think so when he first came on, was a little skinny Italian guy. And I thought, who the hell's this guy? And it turned out he was an 80, looked 40, 80-year-old personal trainer to the stars in Hollywood.
Wow, isn't that something?
He was, like yourself, he was such a bloody interesting man. We did triple the fucking time that we normally do. And today, you've taken the mantle. He's dropped out at number 2. You're an awesome woman, Jen.
Well, I got to work harder to grab that number 1
you've
from
got
him.
it. You've got it. I promise you.
I've done it. Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'll send you the award. Looking ahead, I said we're only at base camp. Looking ahead, what are your goals and aspirations for the future?
Just to keep doing what I do, to help inspire more people to write their books, whether it's a novel or I have 2 one-act plays that I wrote that I would love to see produced. I have several unproduced screenplays. I'd love to see those made into movies. Just to, keep doing either publishing books or writing books, inspiring people.
Plays
and I want to tell people that my website, drjanyager.com, they can sign up for my mailing list or my newsletter, which I promise to someday actually release.
Lovely. Yeah. Speaking of plays, I love plays because I love the audio, the theatre and the interaction, the whole bit. And one of my favourite plays, guys, a lot of you have never heard of it. One of my favourite plays was in Australia, was called The Vagina Monologues. I had no idea.
That's very famous.
I had no idea what it was about. Well, I had a bit of an idea, but I didn't know what to expect. And it was so bloody funny. It was so dumb.
No, that's very famous.
Yeah. And they got these 4, for those who don't know, they got these 4 women who tell a bit of a story, sex related. They tell a story, and then every 6 months they change the 4 women. And they're people like Dr. Joan. They're powerful women with a message, and they're such great characters. And it was
That's wonderful.
It was so fun. It was my favourite play of all the plays I saw. Right, that one.
That's wonderful. Well, one of my favorite plays is Spoon River Anthology.
Right, interesting.
And that inspired my play, Please Don't Forget Me, because that play is about the hot car syndrome. And what I do in that play is I have two children who were killed because they were left in a hot car.
Wow.
And their parents, but I made the children adults, and they tell the audience, this is what I would have become if my parent hadn't forgotten me. And it's so powerful. I have a lot of interest in possibly getting it produced. And that would, I don't have any personal experience with that, but doing research for my textbook on victimology, the study of crime victims, when I did the chapter on child victims, the fact that over 1,000 children and toddlers and infants have been killed because they were left in hot cars. And 80% of the cases are preventable. 20% are deliberate, so they're psychopaths. We can't deal with that the same way. But 80% are preventable. And I discovered a device that someone, Clever Ellie in Australia, has created that you can put in your car lighter, and when you shut off the car, it reminds someone to look in your back seat to make sure there's not an infant or even a pet that you've forgotten about. So, so just keep doing what I'm doing, knock wood, to stay healthy, very important, and
you got a good attitude,
and do wonderful interviews like you.
Yeah, you're at it.
Thank you.